Has council an opportunity to review the meeting minutes from April 30th and May 5th? If so, I'll ask for a motion.
This is Rick. I make a motion of the minutes as presented.
This is Troy. I second it.
Motion from Rick, second from Troy. Any other discussion? Those in favor, let's do a little reminder aloud to our participants. Reminder to the participants, council will state their name while making and seconding any actions this evening. Voting will take place in the order in which we sit at the dais, starting with myself and moving my left. Hearing no other comments, meeting minutes, Tracy votes aye.
Rick, aye.
Troy, aye. Mike, aye.
Becky, aye.
Motion approved. Any additional items for this evening? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to the agenda as set.
This is Rick. I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
This is Troy. I second it.
Motion from Rick, second from Troy. Those in favor may state aye. Tracy, aye.
Rick, aye.
Mike, aye.
Becky, aye.
All right, the agenda is approved. For our guest this evening, we are at Josh Kuya is going to give an update on the reopening of the Becker Community Center, Pebble Creek Golf Club. So, Josh, I'll hand it over to you.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm at the community center right now, and I just had the lights turned out on me, so hopefully you can see me all right. So thank you for the opportunity to provide a quick update on how Pebble Creek Bar and Grill and the Becker Community Center are preparing for an eventual. The governor is expected to release guidelines to put in place safeguards to reopen our facilities. Beginning with Pebble Creek Bar and Grill, we've been assuming that occupancy will be reduced to 50% normal capacity. We're fortunate to have our seating into the banquet area and not substantially reduce our guest count. There will be changes in the experience. Orders will now be placed at 1 or 2 bar terminals, and we are focused on minimizing contact points as much as possible through the use of disposable goods, digital menus, and not accepting cash. We understand that our success is determined by consumer confidence. We want our guests and staff to feel safe in our facility and know that we can operate in a fun and responsible way. June 1st can't get here quick enough. For the Becker Community Center, last week's executive order allows for the safe reopening of youth camps and programming. That aligned well with the scheduled start of our Summer Adventure Zone program. Although it's not yet known whether the community center itself will be allowed to open June 1st, we are preparing Summer Adventure Zone on that date. The BOE has ready to react to all scenarios. We're excited to see the state's guidelines for reopening both our restaurant and community center. We have added plexiglass to at both facilities and secured PPE for our employees. We are thankful for the support of council, and our teams cannot wait to invite the community back inside. With a little time, if anybody had any questions, I'd be happy to help.
This is Mike. I do have a question. Mike, the one concern I have is for wherever you may be, it has nothing to do with you. But it seems to me that the doorknobs, door handles, handrails are probably the most likely areas to be contaminated. Do you have a plan in place for regular cleaning multiple times of these items by any chance?
Yeah, we do. So that was part of the process that city staff was happy to be involved in the development. So any facility that is going to have a preparedness plan, and it covers, 5 main points of highlights within operations, especially ones that are guest facing. So within that, hygiene and sanitation is a component of that preparedness plan. And we've detailed that the community center and Pebble Creek, using all those touch points at least 4 times a day. So that's from the minimum expectations I've seen from state, got a minimum of 1 time per day. But we also didn't want to set something like every 30 minutes where to make good on what we put down on paper. So hopefully that helps answer.
Yeah, probably okay. We'd just like to see it done as much as possible. Can we done more than 4? That's great if you can. But I guess under the circumstances, you get too sanitary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, that's satisfactory.
This is Troy. I just want to say I grew up out there. I know we talked in the document before about the distancing across the road, and it is wonderful. So whatever they did to change it, great job, and make sure they all know that they're doing a great job.
Thank you, Troy. I will do that.
I do have another question. This is Mike. I do have another question on the golf course. Per car, have they relaxed that so if people come drive to the golf course together, they can ride it or not?
No, they haven't spelled it out that way. I was hoping that they would update the outdoor recreation guidelines, which is the working document that golf courses operate. So they did update that to some extent on May 8th, but that was not one thing that they changed. So
Has anybody suggested of that possibility? Because there is a lot of those people that show up together.
Yeah.
It's really a senseless to put each.
I completely agree with other people that run golf courses, and they ask that question of guests when they check in. They say, did anybody ride in the same car to get to the course? And then they would allow, they would say the horse is already at that point if they rode there together. We're just fortunate to not really run out of the carts, so we're going to stick to
I was going to say, can't you
the
get,
guidelines.
you can get in trouble if you do if they haven't changed that policy. Can't you get in trouble if you do that?
Somebody could blow the whistle on you for sure.
If that's what the guideline says, then I think that's what we got to do. So, okay.
Will you have the policy written out for like no cash transactions that you talked about
Yeah,
earlier?
so one thing we've developed, they're on our tables currently. We've got basically our entire restaurant spaced out and ready to go if we were, for some reason, turned loose tomorrow. So Table has like a laminated card that explain how our new process will work, and on there it says, so we're trying to put that signage up so it's very much in the forefront of the guests. One of the things that get the guidelines tomorrow, we're going to do a Facebook Live video where basically we'll walk into our facility and through our process in advance of even opening, just to try to educate our guests on what's going to be different. So there'll be certainly a lead up campaign to train for this period for our guests.
And hearing and seeing none. Thank you, Josh, for that.
Thank you.
Is there any other?
Looks better without the light.
Any other guests for this evening? I don't see any in our. So.
This is EDA. We met last Monday, virtually, of course. We had a market, kind of the real estate market in the area here. As you would expect, inventory is low. And so because inventory is low, the few homes that are making it tall, that was for manufacturing partners, I believe it was across the street. That was from Big Lake. They needed a bigger facility. They moved up here to Becker, and they did the MIF loan through the state. And if you recall the deeds on that, those funds came through the city technically to the and then as they were paid back, they would come through the city, go back to deed, and then once the city is able to keep a portion of it. We did get enough. The loan has been paid back in full, and a little bit of good news is we thought that the amount was going to be $50,000 that City was able to keep $50,000 of it. Turned out it was $100,000. So there's good news there. We'll be in the we talked about putting into a some type of loan program. So there's still to be discussed on where them to be something EDA related. Some more discussion on those funds there. But just to give a heads up, I think we had thrown the number 50,000 around for quite a while, and we found out it was 100. So the county is still. Business still moving forward virtually where it can. The housing study at the county level is almost complete. And this is one, if you recall a couple months ago, we talked about there's a possibility once that comes back, if it, we're going to look at it, see what data is there, if it makes sense, if there's a need to Beckerify it, if you want to say, to if there's a further because it'll be somewhat broad. Obviously, it's counting from Zimmerman, Elk River, Clear Lake. If we once we see it, we were hoping it was going to be back in June, I believe, and there's the potential still to do some further study. Detail related to the city of Becker. So more to come for that. We'll look for that county version to come back here over the summer here. That is, and then we had some other updates for EDA staff, EDA members from staff. That's all I got.
Or should I? Okay. So Public Works will discuss the recent the street maintenance construction that's currently taking place. Parkview Drive Street, as well as the energy, it is slated to be completed by the end of June, and that is dependent upon weather, obviously. That can definitely take a turn. The other items that we had on our agenda for the Public Works are on this evening's agenda. We talked about the lift station and the wells going out for authorized bids. So I'm going to allow staff to take that one as they come up on agenda. But we did extensively discuss those. So personnel.
Okay, personnel, we met last Friday. Really, we talked about plans for, reopening the city hall and what we're going to need to do to make it work. We talked about reopening Pebble Creek and BCC, which Josh just told us. And then we also discussed our IT position, the IT tech position that we're looking for to hire, what that all means and what, I want to say what they need to have, whether we're going to, hire a mid-grade versus, someone new, and what the responsibilities will be. And that's about it.
Okay. Joint Power. I'll take it. The state statute that the auditors produced within their audit to the city, we allowed the fire board, especially the township representatives, to discuss the audit findings from in and then one with them, where they were able to ask the questions in regards to the findings that the auditors had. And one of the biggest points was the statute that they, in regards to payments within 30 days or 45 days. And so we're going to take a little bit of a more in-depth look at that, and so more to come on that. We also had a relief association discussion per se, type, not a relief association meeting, but with the head of the relief association, the ratification process, how we go about doing, and what the risk analysis for that would be. So we were just very briefly obtained information, and we're awaiting their financial response to us, as well as a couple of questions that we had along the way. So more to come as well with that. How about Park and Rec? Okay. Planning Commission?
Yes.
Nice. All right. Any other committee reports? The only thing I will say is just a reminder to staff and viewers, as well as to the City Council, that as of next time we meet in June, we were PM start time. Remember, we switched to summer hours after Memorial Day and before Labor Day, so 5 p.m. All right, moving on to board, committee, and consultant reports. So the lift station number 11, panel replacement. Mr. Lisson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I have RC and Resolution 20-38 for the lift station number 11 panel replacement project. We are looking at for the lift station near the Streets Garage. The panel itself is 25 years old. As the components engine, as it's been upgraded over time, we've ended up with actually 2 separate boxes at the site. So in the idea of upgrading one box and upgrading some of the components within the box, the PLC, the disconnects, the motor starters, we went and got a quote from Total Control for the panel itself, and we also got quotes for installation from 2 different electrical contractors, Hubbard Electric and Design Electric. When we look at the cost for the panel and our lowest bid for installation, total project is $33,385. We did discuss this at the Public Works Committee, and it was suggested to proceed.
You went on mute there.
We did have money set aside in our 2020 domestic wastewater CIP, $8,000 budgeted, so our total number would come in under that. And tonight I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2038, accepting quotes for the lift station 11 panel replacement. And I can take any questions if there are any.
Any questions for Chris? Hearing no council.
I was on mute here. I do have a question.
Yes.
That I didn't ask at the meeting. The panel, are you using like the old components, the old starter, or is that all going to be brand new?
All the components will be replaced. Everything will be new. So it'll be starting fresh.
So you'll have an extra starter laying around and if you ever need it.
If any of the components are worth keeping, they could be used somewhere else. Keep them. Otherwise, we would recycle them.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we try to scrub sometimes as you get newer. They don't work.
Right. Yeah. I was just curious if it was going to be new guts along with the panel. That's all.
Yep. The only thing that we'd be adding that we don't have currently would be a level transducer, just so we can monitor the actual level in the lift station. So it'd just be one other item that we could look at SCADA and monitor, basically pumps are running and what the level is doing. So just one added feature that we don't have.
Okay. Okay. If there isn't any other questions, I'll make a motion. We approve Resolution 2038.
This is Rick. I'll second the motion.
Motion from Mike, second from Rick. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor may state aye. Tracy, aye.
Rick, aye.
Sure.
Aye.
Becky, aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to the station building garage MAU heater replacement. Mr. Lisson.
All right. Before you tonight, I have Resolution 2039. We're looking to replace basically the heater. It's make on the garage of the admin building at the wastewater facility. This piece of equipment actually was new in 1988. A good of it, 32 years. Robert, one of the items was used from the old plant. So there was actually 2 heaters. He said they kept one and got rid of one. He wasn't sure why. So it's served well to be replaced. It actually started working towards the end of March. We did have Egan come out and look at it. Dutage and the cost of parts, their fear was replace one part, you're a couple of $1,000s into that. That doesn't fix the problem, get another part. So at that time, based on that, they recommended look at replacement rather than fixing it. And based on its age, we agreed with our recommendation. We did discuss this at Public Works Committee and was recommended for final approval. We did budget money in both our domestic and industrial wastewater CIPs for this replacement, $1,000 in each for the replacement. We did get quotes from both Egan and McDowell. Representatives came out, met with staff, existing unit, and provided proposals that would replace it in kind. So tonight, four is a motion and second to approve resolution 20-39. We would be accepting the quote from McDowell Company, which was the low bid, for the makeup air unit, for a price not to exceed $18,359. So that would be their quoted price plus a 10% contingency. If there's any questions, I will answer those now.
Hey, Chris, this is Rick.
Yes.
So you said there was $25,000 budgeted in two different budgets, and the total price is coming in at 18.3 there.
Yep.
Were we expecting to replace two units, or what? Were we expecting it to be 50,000, and it just came in that much cheaper? How come the difference there?
That number was carried over from the CIP from when Dave was still here, and and we went into it. I didn't get bids for this until this year, so I didn't realize that number was quite a bit more than what was in there. And to be honest, Rick, I'm not sure if Dave had intentions of doing other things. We do have makeup air units on this admin building, plus we have a separate air conditioning unit, and we have a condensing unit in the lab. So I don't know if it's more at once or why that number was there. So that was a little bit of lack of pressure on my part as far as the number going into this year.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
This is Mike. If there's no other questions, I'll make a motion. We pass resolution P39 for makeup air, heating air unit replacement in the wastewater treatment facility.
This is
is
Becky.
Rick.
I'll second it.
Motion from Mike, second from Becky. Hearing none, those in the state aye. Tracy, aye.
Aye.
Becky, aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Approving final plans and specifications for well number 7 and 8 and well 4 and the water main connection and authorizing advertisements for bids. Mr. Knutson.
Sorry for the big RCA and the long resolution, but as you know, we've been trying to find water for municipal supply for some time. So having found it on the Olson property, we are now looking to go out for bids. So in front of you tonight, we've got 3 different contracts. Contract A is for well number 8 construction. Contract B is for a new well house construction. And contract C is for transmission water main construction. The reason we're doing different contracts as we work with SEH, our engineer, the uniqueness of each of these is probably going to call out 3 very different construction companies to do the work. So we may find a general that would grab bid and sub some of the work out, but we felt offering 3 different bids is going to put the city in the best position to get favorable bids at this time. So the specs were sent out to you. Staff has had a chance to review them independently and with SEH. We're comfortable with what's happened. We did do a few changes to some of the configuration. Along with that, we do have advertisement for bids that we'd like to wrap into this project as well. So as the mayor mentioned earlier, we did discuss this in pretty good detail at Public Works. We've been discussing it all along. So it's a pretty big project and we're pretty excited. The ability for us to potentially get 2 wells out of our initial construction project is pretty exciting for staff. So that is a development call on plan specs too. So if it isn't economically feasible, we won't go forward with it. But if we do have the well development itself is the least expensive of these 3 projects, the transmission and the well house, then the well development. So if we can make this work out, we're very optimistic that we can seize this and make it happen. So with that, I can answer any questions that you may have, or I'm looking for a motion and second on resolution 20-40.
Phil, you're right. This has been an issue that has been ongoing for our city. I mean, I know when I started on council, water was a huge issue, and to see it finally be where, especially for me, a non-water guy, Chris, but I'm very impressed. Thanks. So here are questions. How did council wish to proceed?
This is Troy. I'll make a motion to approve resolution 20-40.
This is Mike, I'll second.
Motion from Troy, second from Mike. Further discussion on it? Hearing none, those in favor may state aye. Aye.
Rick, aye.
Troy, aye.
Mike, aye.
Becky, aye.
Motion passes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate the support.
Mayor, I would like to also,
Further in staff reports. All hazard mitigation plan. Chief Balloon.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. You've all had an opportunity to read sometimes the 298 pages I submitted to you. I hope it was fun reading. But as you know, we did go through this back in September of 2013, just approving the all hazard mitigation plan for Sherburne County. Part of the process, we are required as a local community to also approve it here. So it's been approved by FEMA and also by Sherburne County Board. So we are kind of that next step, or the local communities are the next step of getting this taken care of. It is a requirement of the Federal Disaster Mitigation Act for communities to do this. And what it does, it allows us to maintain federal hazard mitigation grant funding programs, mostly at the county level. And as you can tell when you look at the report, when you read the report, you'll get a lot of information there. But we also had help from the university who virtually put whole plan. So there's a lot of information there, as you can tell, that just highlights a lot of things going on within the county, all in just to try and mitigate any potential disasters in our area, which could include flooding or sort of have you. So again, this kind of puts us in a place, for assistance for projects and stuff like that, should something like that ever be declared. So,
Aye.
Mike, aye.
Yeah.
Motion passes.
thank you.
Extension of declaration of emergency. Chief Balloon.
Well, Council Mayor, here we are again. This will never go away, it seems like. So, this council meeting, we extended the declaration for the city of Becker until May 31st. And under the current conditions, as we've seen, some things have now changed a little bit. And kind of the newest order takes us up until June 1st. So as a result, it kind of puts us in a position of what to do next. And, part of this is the uncertainty of how things will go kind of moving forward, or at least for the time being. Meaning, what's going to happen on June 1st? How are things going to be reopened or not? We suspect it'll be a little different than when we asked here not long ago to the council extension. I think there was a little anticipation that things would be a little different. Now, moving forward, I think we have a better feeling maybe on June 1st how things open up a little bit more. However, again, uncertain. So the thought being is let's extend our declaration just to make sure we are covered. Thing come up on the council level. As you note or know, State Statute 12.229 allows local authority to declare a local emergency, which we extended it the one time. We're looking to extend it again, hopefully the last time, I might add. For numerous things to a local authority to include council meetings, change, so like a virtual setting like tonight, emergency equipment purchase to instruct or operations, which may include payments, etc. So there's some things there. Things under current conditions are preferred for the safety of all councilmen, staff, and citizens who wish to participate. Safe distance, of course. So again, not knowing maybe what's ahead of us, this just allows some flexibility to the council. I might add, as we've kind of worked through this, the biggest change really is to the council. We've certainly allowed participation from the community as they've wished to do. I know that's been very limited. certainly we hope that that'll change and move forward. So both Greg and I have done some work with Scott Lepak. I'll defer to Greg on some of that. However, Scott, as you can imagine, is kind of non-committal a little bit as far as the direction maybe we should go. But he hasn't said we shouldn't move forward with this either. It's important to note. Again, it does put us in a better position should things change after June 1st. In case something were to come up, next council meeting is June 2, or would be June 2 after that. So again, if something were to change, we're in a position to kind of maintain where we're at. But we also kind of pull back at any time we choose to do so, and I think that's important. So the flexibility to be able to do that. Now, I think it's important to note, what if we move and we have a council member, let's say, or two, that were to develop COVID or symptoms or not available, their availability might change. Well, we've got, so, you know, we could certainly have that council member remove themselves for the evening. That's not unusual necessarily, just because of they're sick or something like that. Would have a quorum, that sort of thing. So they could do that. They can certainly participate from home. They may want to put a sign out in their front yard that they're COVID, which means nobody's going to come around them probably. Might be a benefit. There's that, and it's certainly we could make similar accommodations as we've done in the past. And the latest, one of the last examples we maybe had is Todd Hanner's in Texas, and we've had some FaceTime meetings and stuff like that. So I think the council, again, has the flexibility to do a lot of things if they choose to do so. This kind of puts us in that position where we, again, have the ability to do that if we need it. And that's all I'd be saying is if we need it, it's certainly there. So with that, what I've put together, again, just added a little bit of extra language to the resolution that we've seen a couple of times now to the RCA. So again, what I'd be looking for at this time is just an approval, a second motion and a second to approve resolution 2043 to move this down to JAFE to make sure we are covered. And again, I stress the fact that if we don't need something like this, we can back away from it anytime we choose to do so or to do so. I'd also defer to Greg. I don't know if Greg, if you have any questions or comments additionally on this.
I think you covered it well. We were just talking about it for several days. We can do just about anything in this example. We've got ample tools in the toolbox, if you will. So I guess I would probably defer to the city council for any conversation and then direction.
Point would just be knowing that June 4th comes for us, still having the availability to pivot on a moment's notice. The scenario that the chief kind of talked a little bit back and forth about it is what happens if one of us or a family member comes home with COVID, we are automatically quarantined. But what happens if, like, say, EDA or one of our other committees that has diverse outside individuals come in, and now it takes out tutor, staff members as well as council. We kind of get into like a quorum issue, and I definitely don't want to be in that says you cannot participate. I think everybody should still participate unless they absolutely can't. I like the Zoom option for the virtual meetings. I am very eager to get back to the dais on June 2nd, though, along with all of you. But I want to have the option in case somebody doesn't feel that they should be. I just want to be able to be versatile. And like the chief said, if we don't need it, we don't need it. But I think it would look a little bit funky or odd to expire, and then on June 14th something happens and we need it, and we need to enact it with a special meeting in order to take the second half of our meeting in June. So any other ideas or discussion from council?
Yes, Mike, I would just assume stay in the Zoom, the virtual meetings, at least in the beginning of June, and then see what happens after everything is opened back up again. As long as we are doing this right now, it's easy to continue. I would say just one more meeting, at least, do the Zoom.
Say, Greg, this is Rick. When you talked to Scott Lepak, what was his not so much June 2nd, but as we go forward, when we get back to regular open meeting law, what was his response to that as far as, if we were to be in a scenario like that, whether it's somebody officially with COVID or somebody that just has a sore throat? Guess what was Scott's response to using Zoom?
So the short version, you can make the meetings happen with or without the emergency order in place. He was comfortable kind of doing what we're doing. So the emergency order in place, going through June, he was comfortable with it expiring. I agree, it does give you some added flexibility through the month of June, kind of depending on where the pandemic goes and what the governor are. But the conversation that we had later last week, late in the week last week, was similar to what we did with Todd Hanahan. Was we had a FaceTime meeting and we were able to get him in front of the city council, a quorum in a group meeting. So it's another way of saying he's comfortable with just about anything that we do.
Okay. Because I think this is going to be something we're going to have. This is going to follow us well beyond June. So if it's not officially COVID, it's going to be something. And, whether, hopefully we're all traveling, but, probably more realistically, it's a pretty good scenario. I didn't even think of that the mayor brought up that, what if I was diagnosed with first day back at Sinalis and the day after I'm diagnosed with COVID? Well, guess what? You're all staying home for 2 weeks. And now we can't hold them.
And that is the flexibility that Scott Leafback was referring to. It's there. You can use it if you need to. If you don't need to use it, there's nothing wrong with it just being in place.
Any other comments? Otherwise, I'll ask Council how they wish to proceed.
This is Rick. I make a motion to approve Resolution 2043, which shall extend the declaration of emergency through June 8th, 2020.
This is Troy. Second.
Motion from Rick, second from Troy. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor may state aye. Tracy, aye.
Rick, aye.
Mike, aye.
Becky, aye.
Motion passes. Thanks. All right, communication to the governor. Hendrickson.
Thank you, Mayor. So I waited until the governor's announcement last week. I kind of wanted to see where he was going to go with what they announced last week. Basically, I'd like to have some discussion with the full body here. Some potential action. The city's response, basically, to the COVID actions taken by the state. We started with the original stay-at-home order, and we all remember hearing the phrase "flatten the curve." And this was back in March, and I don't think anybody had real issue with it at the time. I mean, there's with the numbers we were shown and things like that, it was since. As we've transitioned here, more information has become known. I mean, we didn't know very much. Obviously, we weren't pandemic experts. Maybe Tracy was, but we really didn't know that much. And so as more data, as we've learned more here, the state has obviously charted a certain course, and I believe the course of charting that. Really, the small businesses and small businesses in general really are the ones that have really been left behind, along with, you can get into a civil liberties discussion there. And I think nationally they're saying like a lot about restaurants and stuff, and nationally they're saying 1 out of 4, 25% of restaurants are not going to make it through the year 2020. That is probably going to be, if that does hold true, that number, my guess, would be higher in Minnesota, simply because of we've been restaurants than most other states. Just today, I just read Geyer Rental up in St. Cloud. I'm sure we've all heard of them. They're going under business. You can go on. But I think I think the sentiment is really a lot of our small businesses in the area here especially could have came up with a plan to safely open, but they were the option. And I think most of us saw that, with the, again, Lords, ours included, could have come up with a plan probably to hold a safe graduation of some sort. They were never even given the option, simply dictated, no, you're not. And that went from everybody from a school district that happened to be in an area, a hot spot for COVID, versus a district up in the northwest corner of Minnesota where probably no cases in the county. So really here is what is our response? I guess in response, saying, do we have to have a reaction? Do you have a reaction? What I'm really concerned about here too is the camel's nose. Getting at, once the camel's nose is under the tent, what happens going forward? What's another, a lot of medical experts are saying there's probably going to be a round 2, this fall or whenever. What happens then? And just as we move into discussion here, we're not alone in this discussion. Just last night, Albertville had this discussion. I'm just trying to stay in this area here. Big Lake. Talked about it last week at their council meeting as well. They were debating on a resolution, and I think they moved to they're writing a letter. Albertville Albertville Rogers, they both have taken their stances. I didn't hear what the outcome of Albertville's was last night, but I know Rogers went as far as a resolution included no city resources to be used to follow the governor's order. I'm not suggesting that here, as you may have read that. So, going forward, I guess, as we look to, kind of protect our citizens, our small businesses, if something like this were to happen again, it's important for us to be on the record to say that, in some cases, this is not okay. We understood the beginning piece of it, but when it gets into these later pieces here, the later times here, and small businesses are not even allowed to give a plan. That stuff is not okay, and so really wanted to throw that out for. I've talked a lot. Stop talking here, so I wanted to open and just hear what others' thoughts are. I put out a resolution. Little more abrasive, and then I know subsequently a letter was put together as well, and so we have both in our packet there tonight, and we can do one or the other, or a hybrid or none, as far as a public statement, if you want to say, from the Becker City Council in response.
Everybody's just looking at each other. So I'll go first then. Rick and I actually had on this issue a little while ago, and I was not comfortable with the resolution that was addressed to the governor, showing how negatively we were impacted by some of the decisions that he had in experts, and however he was making those, how it affected our city. Subsequently, I put a short email out to a couple of my friends that are mayors here in the state, and ironically, this morning I got 20 responses. 22 mayors indicated that their city had done some sort of either resolution or letter to the governor as far back weeks ago. And I actually received 5 emails from different cities that indicated absolutely not. They were not going to be doing that. They didn't feel decision that, as a city, you cannot supersede the government that's above you. So that position, some of them were personal opinions versus other, sort of opinions. Reading some of the letters that they sent, and then the one that we provided, I'm more comfortable with the letter sending that than I am with the resolution. One thing that we are on the governor's bubble in regards to the bonding ask that we had, and I did not want to jeopardize anything, especially as we decommission from the Colby to the future of the Becker Business Park. I don't want to jeopardize any of those asks negatively impacting a decision holder. But I think that's the only thing that's kind of holding me back. But I understand also the purpose to show them, fully support them, and we have, and we will always continue to, no matter what they're going through, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. Our job is to stand next to them and continue to fight for them as well. So I struggle with those two things. And the third thing that I just feel a little bit that causes me to pause, but is that there's a human cost as well to this pandemic, and I don't want to supersede and say somebody's life is more than a business is more than a life, because I think both of them are as equal as can be. So those are the things that went through my mind as we discussed these items and this topic. But I feel the most comfortable with the letter that has been written, and I'll pause there.
This is Mike. I kind of agree with Tracy. I sent out a negative resolution to the governor. I think we're far better off sending a letter stating our concerns. But most importantly, our duty is to our citizens to protect them, and that's above and beyond the industrial park and everything else. But I agree with Tracy. The letter seems to be the most sealed with it.
No one else?
This is Trey. I agree kind of with the letter deal, and I'm even having a hard time with that. I just think with that position, I don't know. It's not my job to question what they're doing, because there's more people behind the scenes doing what they're doing, I know it's hard on this, and I feel terrible every day about it, but it's just a bad situation.
One thing I'd like to add, Rick made a very good point. A lot of these small businesses have no option of even coming up with a plan. And that's wrong. I think they if they feel that they can come up with a plan and it gets accepted, they should be allowed to operate.
Me personally, not for the resolution. I'm definitely state how we feel. Maybe being a small business owner myself, that is still closed. So it's very frustrating. It's, I can get into it how it's not fair, the cherry picking, what's able to open, what's not to open. But at the end of the day, I feel it's not our place to say that, because I feel like everything's pretty much open right now. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, obviously not. But the places that are not able to open are people like me, bar restaurants that are licensed through state boards. So, I mean, they can't open anyways, even if we gave the okay to say open the salons, the bars, the license strips. So, I mean, I'm completely fine with the letter, just, stating our concerns, absolutely. But
do you think you could have come up with a plan, like had you been to, do you think you could have came up with a plan to safely operate your business?
Yes and no. Because the thing that's weird when you are, licensed through a board, they don't really say much until they state. So, I mean, they've been pretty on the down low of what the options are, but, we've been going through just what other states have been doing. So, I mean, definitely, me personally, we're like one of the cleanest places we have to be, just in general, what we have to do. But at the same breath, I can't argue the fact that, I have a friend that owns a dentist in Monticello and they can't even get the PPE they need. So how can I? Because to me, dental is more important than your hair. Even though I like to think hair is more important, it's not.
I agree.
Completely, yes.
But yeah, so I'm all for a letter. That's completely fine.
And I would prefer the resolution, but I will for the sake of council unity.
Mm-hmm. And Rick, I think this is a great discussion point that you brought up. I completely understand what you were wanting to do and think it was a really great idea.
So, for a lot of them.
Is that your motion, Troy?
Can we write a letter of concerns?
I'll second that.
This is Becky. I'll second it.
All right. I have a motion from Troy, second from Becky. Just to clarify, the motion is the letter that's in our packet, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
No one's wanting, are they?
Becky was thinking about it.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor may state aye. Tracy, aye.
Rick, aye.
Right,
Motion passes. All right, Senator Hendrickson. Consent agenda. Mr. Przinsky.
And Mayor, City Council, thank you. Consent agenda for May 19, 20 is revised, so please take note of that. Item number 1 and item number 2 are hiring report forms, one for the police department, one for Pebble Creek Golf Course. Item number 3 is approval to hire One Engineering to do some additional design work to convert one cell of the biofilter to a dump station. That design work will help us, yes, on the design, but it'll also give us a final number on construction costs for that project. Item number 4 is a job description approval for, and I think somebody had reported that from our personnel committee earlier in the meeting. Item number 5, job description approval for our information manager. Again, that was also discussed earlier. Item number 6, and this is an addition to tonight's consent agenda, hiring and report from the Becker Community Center. Josh had given us a report earlier, and we're starting to staff up now in anticipation of opening. And then item number 7 is a partial pay request for R.L. Larson, and this is for the 2019 business, also known as Avenue Frontage Road. You'll recall the contract amount, the construction contract amount is $184,233. This again is partial pay request number 5 in the amount of $1,360,714.02, which leaves a construction contract amount of $1,156,316.23. So if anybody has any questions, otherwise a motion to adopt consent agenda for May 19, 2020 would be appreciated.
This is Mike. I make a motion. We approve the consent agenda.
Yes. That.
Motion from Mike, second from Troy. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor may state aye. Tracy, aye.
Rick, aye.
Troy,
Mike, aye.
Becky, aye.
Motion passes.
make a motion. This is Troy. Make a motion to pay the bills.
This is Becky. I'll second.
Motion from Becky. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor may state aye. Tracy, aye.
Rick, aye.
Troy, Mike, aye.
Becky, I.
Motion passes. Does council have anything else for the betterment of Becker?
Tracy, if I may,
Yes.
earlier in the meeting, Nick had mentioned his preference is to continue Zoom meetings for city council. At least the June 2nd meeting, maybe the June 6th. Is that something that the city council put together? I mean, do we all agree that's the strategy?
Do we have the technology to do a hybrid where folks that want to be can be in person and yet we can still have Zoom?
Does it work if we all brought, whoever wanted to be at the dais could bring their computer and hook up to the Wi-Fi? Or would that cause like a surround sound type issue?
I think you'll get feedback.
Okay.
If you have it on, like when you and I were sitting in council chambers, it was horrible. If you want to go back to regular meetings, I can handle it.
The last time we were there, when Becky was Wake 6, we were pretty spread out there, right? Correct?
We can meet the social distancing, and what we would do if we had general public that wanted to participate, if we start to go over that 10 person meeting limit, what we would do turns. So first they could come in, address city council, and then we would ask them just to leave until their chance to.
Yeah, because they can go spread out in the hallway or something like that.
Yep. So we can do it. It's perfect. It's pretty.
Anybody that's concerned can wear a mask.
We could also explore doing a hybrid if that's what you prefer.
I think if you do a hybrid, we're going to get feedback like we had. If the council wants to go, I'll go along with that.
Pretty successful Zoom meeting today. Maybe we want to go too.
I think we got this down.
Yeah.
This is the first time that we had internet and thing working with our
Actually, you and I had on the public works, Tracy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I will say I really enjoy having our committee as Zoom, but I do miss being in person.
Yeah, yes.
But
I was just suggesting for this next meeting is all.
Okay, so I'm hearing for June 2, we will meet through the Zoom format, and then we'll bring the city council back into the city hall for the June 16 meeting.
Not only that, but if the governor decides that he's going to, we should just carry on the way we are.
I agree with the June 2nd Zoom. That way we're not jumping ahead of ourselves with not knowing what he's going to say.
like, what is the protocol for facial covering at City Hall? Like, will we have to wear? Are we required to wear a mask when we come?
It'll be optional.
Okay.
But not mandatory. Those that wish, we can have some masks available. Assuming we get our shipment in for sanitizing products and whatnot, we'll have all that available as well.
There are plenty of bumper bandanas I can drop off for everyone.
Are they sanitized?
Thank you.
All right. Anything else that council or staff has?
Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but remember my little suggestion for visit your.
Yeah, how's that going?
They're going really smooth. I've been by myself for every one of them. So. Actually, if we do like a caravan type thing where everybody won't be up, we could still pull that off and do it. And we'd probably meet the guidelines for social distancing. But what I mean, start at now so that we can do it within the next 30 days or 2 months.
Is that a directive that Park?
Idea.
Oh,
I don't even know Park and Rec. Did they? Right?
Phil, I see that Phil has joined. Maybe he has a.
We have that as a directive. We put it on hold because of the Bart coming back to work full time in person through this week, starting this week as well. We want a topic and see what we could do. Maybe look to do something in August. So I know has some ideas on that as well. So now that we have staff here, we will bring it back up and bring some ideas to the it can be reviewed and then bring it back to council for their comments on it.
Okay. I just don't want it to go all the way. That's all.
No point taken.
Well, we didn't forget about you, Michael. I think we could do something cool like that and get the fire trucks out. Means kids didn't get to see touch a truck this year either. With all the cop cars and all that good stuff, maybe. Maybe we could just make it a little bit bigger since we're not doing Freedom Days.
I know Rick had brought up this, a little bit ago, and I did see that the school district is allowing drive-in graduation. Evening is a parade of seniors that's leaving the Becker Furniture World, and they have a caravan route that our police department is around the city. So if you might want to take a look at that, if you want to stand alongside the roadway, socially distancing yourselves and waiting. I plan to be out there as well. So,
do you have the route information?
Yeah, I can send it to you.
Put that on the city Facebook site.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, I think the city also posted on the Facebook
Yeah.
site the information for it as well as the route. Start at 6:30 with people starting to kind of arrive. I won't say congregating, but the kids will be meeting at Becker Furniture World. Plan drive by at 7 o'clock around the city, and then meeting back up ultimately at Furniture World. So should be fun. I know about it.
By the way, Brett, I got next time I got a letter for you. They gave me to give to you. Thank you. We at our church, we did a caravan for our members, our seniors that were graduating. And I got to tell you, it was a lot of fun doing it. So, but anyway, they gave me a letter to give to you, and I haven't seen you to give it to you. So I'll get that to you one of these days, hopefully before next year.
How many times have you went by his house on the golf course? He lives on the course over here.
You know what? When he's at home, he's not working. I don't at home.
Oh, people used to leave in the day empty beer cans on my deck, so leaving a
That was Becky.
That wasn't me.
I mean, there may be an idea in my head.
All right. Now that we have all of that covered, anything else from council? No? All right. I'll go ahead and ask for a motion to adjourn.
This is Mike. I move adjourn.
This is Troy. I'll second that.
Motion from Mike, second from Troy to adjourn. Those that are in favor may state aye. Tracy, aye.
Rick, aye.
Troy, aye.
Mike, aye.
Becky, aye.
Thanks, everybody. We are adjourned at 7 p.m.
Good night,
Good night,
all.
all. It's been a